Okay, welcome to the first Q&A with myself, Gary Rafferty from Football Fitness. This is going to be 30 minutes of me just taking on your questions and then giving you the best answer I possibly can. Obviously, as time goes on, we should get some repeated questions and I can give you maybe more in depth or refer you to another answer to give you more in depth. And then even better, what I'll do is, if you keep getting the same sort of questions, I'll build a little resource for you. I'll stick it into the classroom and the school community inside the Football Fitness Academy, and then you've got it forever and you can refer back to it now and then. Also, with this call, I will also stick the recording straight into school for you. So, got a few questions through, got about 7 or 8 to get through in the 30 minutes, so again, I'll do my best to get through for you. Some crackers, some ones that need a little bit of information sort of behind it, so I can't really go back and forth with you, but for the time being, I think I've got enough to give you some good information. Sometimes I'll refer back to, I'll share my screen and we'll go to some resources, and sometimes I'll just give you a bit of an answer that I think is enough to get you going. So first question is from Super Soup, random name, but that's a username. So the question I got was, how long should I be able to run? Is there a certain amount of miles professionals should be able to do easily in under a certain amount of time? Right, so in terms of how long should you be able to run, I don't know if that's duration or distance. We'll go with distance. So I would say, like as an easy rule of thumb, let's just say you're playing 11-a-side. If you're a 14-year-old or 15-year-old, obviously the duration of the game is shorter. The pitch might even be shorter depending on the country you're playing in. However, as a rule of thumb, professionals, semi-professionals and anyone playing 11-a-side tend to cover sort of between 9 minimum to 13 kilometres over 90 minutes. Mostly 10 to 13, and that range is just because of position. Alright, mostly centre midfielders are going to cover a fair bit of distance. Wide players, especially depending on the system, are they playing as wing backs? Are they playing more in a diamond shape? It really depends on the position. However, 10 to 13 kilometres is a good rule of thumb. The length of runs probably isn't that important. So if you run 13 and I run 10, it doesn't really make a difference because there's context attached to that. Because you could run 13 and just be running around like a headless chicken. I could run 10 and I could dictate the full game. I could run 9 and dictate the full game because I'm clever, I'm intelligent with my movement. You think of players like Andrea Pirlo, who looks like, I mean, I've not seen his stats, but even if he isn't covering a ton of distance, it looks like he's never really moving. He's just finding the right areas, never really getting marked, and he's just picking his passes at will because he's clever. So use of energy can come down to game intelligence. But as a rule of thumb, 10 to 13 kilometres per game. That doesn't mean you just go and run 13 kilometres, a big long run, and think, okay, that's me fit enough for football. Because if I set a timer and you just went a walk at a decent pace for 90 minutes, you'd probably cover, I don't know, 7 kilometres, 8 kilometres. It's really what that 90 minutes is made up of, and that 13 kilometres or 10 kilometres. Because high speed meters, sprint distance, these are the game winning moments. Where you're a striker, winger, centre half, full back, these are the moments where you're busting into the box, getting on at the end of a cross, or you're getting back in, making a big tackle, or short distance to close someone down or get on the end of a pass. These are the moments you want. So high sprint meters, speed meters, these are the meters that tend to count more. If you walk around and light jog for 13k or 10k versus me, who I'm bombing around, making runs into the box, making defensive runs, counter pressing, all that sort of thing, that fitness is going to be far more useful than someone who just has to go at a steady pace constantly, who can't really get up and down and make those game winning moments. So just to add to that, I suppose, would be very few teams really do sort of worry too much about how fast you can run X amount of miles. The only time that really happens is if you're doing testing, maybe at the start of pre-season, or maybe throughout the season, just to dictate or test where you currently are fitness wise and make sure you're on top. If I say at the start of pre-season, right, I'm going to get you all to run 2 kilometres for time, that's not really to say this is who's fit for football. This is mainly because you want to get a rough guide of your aerobic fitness, and then the fitness coach or the coach can then go, right, this is how we're going to programme pre-season moving forward. This group of players are sort of unfit, this group of players are sort of fit, and this group of players are really fit, and then we can dictate distances based on their fitness levels to ensure that the players who are unfit aren't getting smashed early doors, and the players who are super fit are getting trained hard enough that they're still improving their fitness. And obviously you want to retest to ensure that that's improved, and that's sort of the base of fitness. Outside of that, after a certain point, it's a bit of a diminishing returns, because what will happen is you'll get really fit on that test, but then you go and play a game and you'll be breathing out your arse and you'll think, oh, what, I done really well on that test. But game fitness, as you well know, is a different kettle of fish altogether. So you need to make sure that once you've got that base of fitness that allows you to train consistently, recover well, the match fitness has to come through playing game minutes, and you'll know that yourself from years of playing football. Hopefully that answers your question. So it's a bit of a crap response, I suppose, because there's no set answer of how far you should run or how long you should run. If you want quick guidelines, I would say, again, for game distance, regardless of position, 11 aside, you should be getting close to 10k. You might go all the way up to 13, but it depends on the coach's style of play, the formation played, the opposition, the size of the pitch. If you're dominating possession, you're not going to get as much distance, etc, etc. In terms of like a 2 kilometre time trial, like elite players are going to get sort of between 6 minutes and 6.5 minutes over 2k. But again, that does also depends on, are you a rapid player who does really well with short explosive movements, or are you a super fit player with engine, aren't so fit endurance wise. So again, these things have got a lot of variables. This is when a coach can help you, guide you, and you just do the best you can, and your programs adjust based on your own ability. But I would say 6 to 6.5 minutes is like really good. 6.5 to 7 is not bad. And then as a starting point, just get whatever score you can, and then next time you do it, you should be better. And if you aren't getting better at it, then obviously your program's not working. Right, that was a long-winded answer, but hopefully it gave you some sort of guidelines. So next one is by Bibu52. Every season I've played, I have had a big injury. How much are injuries down to luck, and how do you get back into football without overdoing it and being out for even longer? Right, so good question, mate. I mean, luck is a factor for sure, but usually I would say only in terms of like big impact injuries. Like if you get a really bad tackle, that's usually really unlucky because wrong place, wrong time. But I'd say a lot of injuries come from soft tissue. You get a lot of soft tissue injuries. What I mean by that is like no one's really tackled you, nothing's happened, you're like, oh, my groins went, oh, my hamstrings went. Most often these are down to load management, and I say load, I just mean how often you've been training, how hard you've been training, and then looking at maybe from an individual perspective, how strong are you physically, how resilient you are to these injuries and to the load, because you are going to get pushed at times in the season. Pre-season, 2 to 3 games per week, all these sort of things, and then on top of that you've got life, you've got stress of work or university or school or whatever age you are, and then you've got movement quality. If your running mechanics aren't very good, change of direction mechanics aren't good, you don't land very well, you don't decelerate very well, your hips, your ankles, your spine, all that stuff's tight, doesn't move very well, then obviously you're going to sort of increase that risk of getting injured when things don't go to plan, or you get a movement you aren't too sure of. So to answer your question, how you're getting a big injury, you're saying, again, I need the context of what a big injury is, but how much is down to luck? I would say probably not as much as you probably think. Probably most often players who are getting constant niggles, especially in similar areas, it's probably down to just mismanagement of the training load. And then the question you sort of tagged onto that was like, how do you get back into it without overdoing it? Again, just building up your training load week to week. Simplest way, again, without getting too fancy, is just your running distance. So making sure you're tracking your running distance. Again, this is very basic, but it's probably something a lot of you aren't already doing, and making sure week to week you're just building that distance. And this can start as low as 5 or 6 kilometres, or even 10 kilometres, or what. I don't know how fit you are, but let's just say 10 kilometres, the next week you do 12 kilometres, the next week you do 14, next week you do 16, and then you go 18, 20, and you just add a kilometre or two each week, and then you sort of hit a base of say 25 or 30, and then you look at, can you start to build the intensity. And the same goes with speed. You don't want to just turn back day one and go, right, I want to go all out sprinting, I'm going to go I'm going to run every single day, and by the end of the week you've ran 25 kilometres, you've did 7 or 8 massive sprints, or 10 to 15 massive sprints. Now that sounds stupid, but this happens all the time. Players will go, I'm just back after a long time out, I want to get back in it as soon as I possibly can, and they'll get involved in this crazy high intensity program, which is not to say anything bad about the particular program, but it's obviously set for people who have got a decent baseline already. So really, you just have to meet yourself where you currently are. You can't rush physiology. If you've been out for a while, you're at ground zero. Build yourself back up, because short term you might have a bit of frustration, you might be like, you want to get back into it, but look at elite football players, they do the exact same thing. You'll see some players coming off after 60 minutes, or coming on in the 70-minute mark and getting 20 minutes, and it might be, you look at Kevin De Bruyne very recently, coming on against Newcastle, 20 minutes to go, comes on, scores, assists, but he's just come back after a lengthy injury, and he doesn't start, because even though he's arguably the best player in the league, he still has to build his minutes back up again. He has to build back into that intensity, and obviously behind the scenes he's gradually ramping up that volume in training as well. So you're not going to be the anomaly here. You're not going to be more prepared than Kevin De Bruyne or these guys, because everyone does it. It's just the body works. So I'd start with short accelerations, 5 to 10 metres, literally just 3 or 4 every session, say over 3 sessions. And then the next week you can go to 5 to 10 metres, 10 to 15 metres, and you can go to 15 to 20 metres, 20 to 25. And what you'll find is doing that gradually exposes your hamstrings to higher intensity work, higher speeds. And then you can also gradually introduce change of direction. So to start with, you might just do straight line stuff, and then you might start to build in some cutting at 45 degrees or some shuffling. And then you can go cutting at 90 degrees and then 180 degrees, and then before you know it, you start to increase the speed of the change of direction. And then you start getting involved in small-sided games with contact, and then as you can see, it's just layering on top of each other. You're not just going straight in head first, because what's going to happen is you'll get that injury again, and then you're back to square one, and this constant vicious cycle is going to continuously happen. So I would say that's probably a simple way. So you could go week 1, 12 kilometre running distance, 8 times 10 metre sprints, that's 80 metres and 10 kilometres of distance. Week 2, 14 kilometres running distance, 10 times 10 metre sprints. Week 3, 16 kilometres running distance, 8 times 15 metre sprints. And then you just build and build and build, and as you can see, the distance is gradually increasing, the speed's gradually increasing, and then on top of that, just building some general resiliency around gym work, 2 to 3 times in the gym, sticking on the basics, the squats, lunges, step ups, split squats, and then doing a little bit upper body push and pull, managing the volume in the same way. Build some volume, get your body used to it, and then build the intensity. So that's hopefully answers your question. Next question is from CooleyMe17. What would be the most important exercises to reduce strength deficiencies for football? So it would depend, I suppose, on where the strength deficiencies are in the body. Context wise, this is where it's really important to go and see physiotherapists or sports doctors, etc., and ensure that if you're injured, you go and see them first. If you just feel like, I want to just improve my all-round resiliency, then there's not really an important exercise, like the most important exercise. Like I just touched on a second ago in the previous answer, deadlift variations, split squat variations with a more sort of forward shin angle, isometric quad strength, that's all very useful for sort of acceleration. Squat variations are useful for some top speed sprinting. Lateral movements, so side to side movements, are really useful for change of direction, so like lateral lunges, lateral step ups, and then just sort of general resiliency stuff, so like working on the inside of the legs, so the adductors, and the outside of the legs, the abductors, your glutes, your hamstrings, calf, ankle. These are smaller muscle groups. You'll see a lot of things on social media that really hammers this stuff as if like the whole workout should be on this. Now this to me is just the icing on the cake. Sometimes, or just a bit of individual prep work, often at the start or the end of a workout, just to sort of keep you ticking over. But the gist of your session should really be on the squat or the deadlift variation, so hinging the hips or bending the hips into a squat, single leg work. All that stuff is really good. There's no special exercises, unfortunately. It's just the stuff that works is worked time and time again, and then pairing that with your load management and making sure you're not doing too much at the wrong time. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, it's a simple answer, but the simple stuff is what works. I would love to give you some special exercise, but if there's a special exercise and I knew it and no one did, I'd be an absolute multi-millionaire with this special exercise that I'm keeping to myself. And if anyone tells you there is a special exercise, then I would probably turn the other way because they're trying to sell you something. So keep it simple: squat, deadlifts. And I say deadlift variation, it can be a trap bar deadlift, a barbell remaining deadlift, a single leg remaining deadlift. You can look at single leg hip bridges, lunges, work a lot of lunge variations, going to get your hips into a hinging position. And then obviously squat variations include front squat, back squat, split squat, single leg squat, skater squat. There's no this is better than that. It depends on your body, your experience. A goblet squat might be better for younger players, a back squat might be better for a more experienced player. Split squat might be better, something you prefer. Equipment availability, there's so many variations, but don't overthink it. Just pick one and do it. And there's a gym template on my YouTube channel. It gives you a simple template to follow. If you do that 2 times a week, you're going to be in a better place than most people. Just make sure you include some lateral side to side stuff, and even some rotational movements, whether it be rotational lunges and rotational core work. And you're pretty much there. And then working on making sure you turn up to your training sessions, attend the squad sessions, because obviously that's game realistic, that's you preparing for the game. You can't just hit the gym, miss a few squad sessions. You need to be on the pitch training, because that's what's preparing you for football. Again, long-winded answer. A lot of this stuff's going to overlap, because hopefully the general theme you'll find for me doing these Q&As is there's principles and there's methods. The principles are the stuff that just works. This is the stuff that works time and time again. There's no arguing. The easiest way to explain this would be nutritional aspects. If you think of nutrition, no matter how you skin things when it comes to gaining weight or losing weight, it always comes down to calories. So the principle of most diets is going to be based on a calorie deficit or a calorie surplus. So it doesn't matter if it's a keto diet, a high carb diet, carb cycling, all this stuff. There's a million different diets out there, a million different things to be sold upon. The principle is calorie deficit. The method would be, or calorie surplus, the method would be all these different diet types. Now, the method you choose is when you decide what works for you in your context, at your age, at your experience, all these different things. So again, the principle of me saying, how do you increase, what was the question? Sorry, I'll go back to it. Most important exercise to reduce strength deficiencies for football. So most football players do lack just general strength, because a lot of them avoid the gym, or they do all these bodyweight exercises, which are really good for work capacity, general movement, but at some point your body's going to need progressive overload. It's going to need to be pushed a little bit harder to start to build strength. So to do that, the principle is progressive overload. We have to push your body a little bit more to adapt, to get stronger, and tell it to get stronger. So how do we do that? Well, there's a million different methods. And the method depends on, again, the gym equipment you have, your experience in the gym, your training week, are you in season, off season, pre-season, have you got a hard session that day, when's your game? All these things are the variables that, the devil's in the details, and this is really what's going to make a difference between you avoiding those injuries that you've mentioned, or the strength deficiencies that you're wanting to improve upon. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing for you should be, how do you stay available on game day? How do you stay fresh on game day? Because it doesn't matter how much you lift in the gym, how hard you're training on social media and what you're posting online. The only thing that will ever matter as a football player, amateur, semi-pro, youth, professional, is how you perform on match day. Because that's what we love to do as football players. We love to play football on game day, be competitive. Coaches want us available. So if you're not available, or you are available and your legs are heavy and you play crap, then you have to look a little bit deeper to the individual details. So again, this is the first Q&A, so this might be a wee bit all over the shop, but you can always refer back to the classroom inside the Football Fitness Academy, and you'll see the Football Fitness Blueprint, and that'll give you some, again, additional things that I've mentioned that sort of overlaps what we've already spoke about. Long-winded answer, sorry about that. So here we go. What is the best way to build energy and stamina? I keep my diet and sleep pretty consistent. This is from an anonymous person. Come through the Google form. I'll read that again. What's the best way to build energy and stamina? I keep my diet and sleep pretty consistent, but some games I can run for ages, and other games I've barely got anything in me. So I mean, what is your current level of fitness? I.e., you've said no, you've not mentioned how fit you are. So I mean, the best place, again, definitely go to the classroom and go through the football fitness blueprint. It's 4 5-minute videos. Sorry, it's 4 to 5 minute videos, and there's 13 videos. And the general theme is assess where you currently are. So you need to know where your fitness currently lies. So like I mentioned in the previous question about running distances and time trials, etc. You can do a time trial to see your aerobic fitness currently. You can do a yo-yo, IR2, IR1. You can do a 30-15 test. Just Google these, they're super easy. It takes 10 minutes to complete them. Get a baseline. If your baseline isn't where it should be, then improve. If it is where it should be, you look at the next thing on top of that. Now, that's the best place to start. You need to assess where you currently are to see where you need to get to. If you do a test and you realise right now, I'm unfit, then the answer to your question is the best way to build energy and stamina is to start to work on your energy and stamina 2 to 3 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week, and working on it. If your diet and sleep's pretty consistent, you've got a solid base, and you're saying some games you can run for ages and all the games you've got anything in you, then you need to look at your fitness. Obviously, that's what's holding you back. Then if your fitness is great and it is really good, and you see that you've got nothing in you in these games, then chances are it's a load management thing. Maybe some weeks you're fresher and you feel you can run for ages. Whether it be your training load on the pitch or in the gym, or it might be what you've got going on in your life. Maybe you've got, I don't know anything about your circumstances, but you could have some weeks where you feel like you've got nothing in your legs. You could have exams, maybe you've got something happening in your family life, maybe you're under stress financially that particular week, maybe you've got bad news, maybe you've not slept well on particular days, and you feel you get to game day and preparation hasn't quite been on point, and the days you feel good, maybe that's when everything's all good. So it could be looking at your load management, making sure you've got a solid training plan in place on the pitch and in the gym. The bad news here is that sometimes what you do on the pitch is out with your control because it's up to your coach. So if your coach has got a training plan from a fitness perspective that's all over the place, some days you're getting battered, some days you're not, then unfortunately you just need to try and really, really hammer your recovery and making sure that you're on top of things off the pitch so you balance that off. If your coach has got everything down pat on the pitch and your training sessions are building volume and intensity properly, then you need to look at what you're doing off the pitch. If you're sleeping well and eating well, then superb. Obviously looking at maybe more carbohydrates around game day, that might improve days that you're not feeling as good, making sure your match day nutrition's right. Again, these questions often are answered in the Football Fitness Blueprint, so make sure you go through it. Again, gym work, nutrition, training load, and then making sure your baseline fitness is where it should be. I'd start there and then look at the load management. So LT Rager, what a name. How would you improve quickness? I'm 30 and I play 2 to 3 times a week. I also lift frequently, so generally I'm strong, especially the last few years. As I've gotten older, my quickness seems to have reduced a bit. I have a training boxes for jumps, hurdles and other plyometric gear. Is it just plyo jumping stuff? I'm thinking quickness as in quick defensive stab to stop a dribble, so tackling really, or quick dribbling to beat a defender. Right, okay, so you're looking at sort of acceleration and sort of reactive abilities there. So first thing is you're 30, so unfortunately mate, I don't know if you're a girl or a guy, but unfortunately you're getting older. Power deteriorates. This is one of the speed, power. Look at elite level players. Doesn't matter who they are. As they get older, speed and power starts to deteriorate. You can obviously reduce the speed it deteriorates by training it regularly, but after sort of 27, 28, you're going to start to see it on a downward spiral. How fast it goes or how slow it goes depends on where you currently are. So in terms of training that, jumps, yep, jump training is important. Looking at whether it be hops, bounds, and actual jumps with 2 feet. So jumps would be 2 feet jumping, 2 feet landing. A bound would be 1 foot jump, opposite foot landing, and then a hop being 1 foot jump and the same foot landing. All right, and that's sort of the jumps would be here, bounds are here, and then hops. That's how you sort of progress the intensity of it. And going forwards, going backwards, it's forwards, backwards, sideways, rotating. All these things are important when it comes to jumps. Then you've got your plyometrics. So jump training and plyometrics aren't necessarily the same. Plyometrics, when we're looking at being quick off the floor, think of like floor is lava. You're just quicking off the floor, nice and quick. Whereas a jump is you jump as high as you can, land, high as you can, land. So your feet are on the ground for longer contact times, like a box jump or a squat jump. When if you think of like a pogo jump or continuous hurdle jumps or hops or something like that, that's more elastic work. That's more traditional plyometrics. And then you've got power work where you're actually using some sort of resistance. It might be medicine balls or resistance bands, which aren't too much resistance. Say that's like here. And then you've got maybe like a trap bar jump where you're using like 30-40% of your 1 rep max. That's maybe like here. Then you've got Olympic lifting, which is like here. So that's your power continuum. So you want to train it with no weight, a little bit of weight, some weight, and then heavier weight. And then that'll sort of train the whole continuum. And then obviously you've got strength work, which will improve your ability to apply force. And that allows your power to be even stronger. And then you sort of take it from there. Another component, again, if you go through the Football Fitness Blueprint, I keep alluding to this because if you go through that, you'll get a lot of your questions answered. Get lean. Body composition is super important when it comes to speed and power. There's a saying that fat don't fly. Basically, I mean, if you're carrying extra body weight, you're going to slow yourself down. It's voluntarily slowing yourself down because you're in control of what you eat. Mostly body composition is down to nutrition, so make sure you're on top of nutrition, get down to a good body fat, you'll be leaner, lighter, sharper, you'll feel quicker. Play football, of course you need to play football, you can do all the training in the world, but until you're in a game, match specific moments, those defensive tackles you're talking about or beating someone one-on-one, that's where agility comes into things. Not changing direction, we're talking about agility, where you're trying to analyse all these different components of where is the defender standing, where they've dropped their shoulder, are they left footed, right footed. You're looking at different spaces on the pitch, you're taking all this information and in one go, you try to analyse it all and make a quick snapshot, and then as soon as the defender moves, how do you move? And then same thing, if you're defending, how are you reading the attacker's body language? All these things are what separates really players who are elite, average and poor, and it's these moments that can make or break you. So you can train these all day long, but you're going to have to put yourself in match specific situations to really test these and get used to it and start to work on real life scenarios. So keep it your squad sessions really. Okay, so next question and probably last question is regarding how to improve. It's from Tim and Gab. How to improve mental resiliency after poor performances. And Gab's also asked about improving technique. Now Gab, improving technique, really simple answer, mate. You have to get the reps in. Top players, Berbatov, Eric Cantona, Cristiano Ronaldo, all these players have got loads of information, sort of loads of quotes and interviews of them talking about all they did. Ball on a wall, left foot, right foot, first touch, outside of the foot, inside of the foot, shots at goal, Ronaldo, lots of step overs around the pitch constantly, day after day, week after week. If it wasn't looking good, they would look at why it wasn't going good and they'd just get the reps in. There's no fancy answer, there's no special drill, it's just getting the reps in. If you aren't sure about your technique, work with a coach. There's loads of free videos online when it comes to skill stuff. Obviously this is football fitness, and where I can help you on that to a certain degree. I would outsource it mostly to an individual skills coach if you're really struggling with it. But if you don't, mate, get out in the back garden, get to a wall, go to the local park and just get the reps in. Pick a skill, maybe it's your left foot, work on it, small touches off the wall, outside of the foot, go again, inside of the foot, go again. Maybe it's shooting, work from different angles, work with different parts of your feet, inside of the foot shot, placing it, striking the ball with your laces, using it outside of the foot finish, coming from different angles, running towards the goal, one-on-ones. Pick one, nail it, even record yourself, ask yourself, why is it going wide, why is it going over, am I leaning back, is my body over the ball, am I striking through the ball? These little things, then do more reps, put it into a game, Is it actually transferring to a game? Yes, no. Is it improving? Yes, no. And just constantly go through that cycle. There's no silver bullet. You just need to do the repetitions, mate, and it's true for anything in the world when it comes to skill. It's just hours and hours of repetition doing the simple things very, very well. When it comes to the mental aspect of the game, whether it be resiliency after poor performance, I'm just going to refer you back to the blueprint. Again, sorry to keep referring back to this, but I did try and make this blueprint pretty extensive and cover a lot of the general topics already. So the two I would refer you to is goal setting and high performance mindset. So goal setting is important when it comes to resiliency after poor performance, purely because most anxiety or sort of beating yourself up after a poor performance comes from you in your head not being entirely sure if you're still on track or if you've got a process to improve. If I've got no process to get better or no goal I'm working towards, and it's very generic, it's like I want to be better at football or I want to play well this week. What does playing well look like? Alright? So let's just give some really simple examples. If you are a striker and you want to play really well on that particular day, and in your head, playing well is scoring a goal. Now, if in that particular game you don't score a goal, maybe you missed some sitters. In that particular situation, you go, okay, I missed some chances. Why did you miss the chances? Was it the way you played? Was it just head was elsewhere, concentration, technique, all those sort of things? You can maybe get video footage, or you know yourself, I leaned back on those shots and I kept missing the target. My hips were facing the wrong way as I struck the ball, I kept missing the target. I delayed my shot too long and the defender put a block in. That's fine, then you know it. You work on that technique or those circumstances, you speak to your coach, I keep finding that I keep missing the target, I keep finding that I'm delaying my tactics, delaying my finishing because of being indecisive. You speak to your coach, they can help you. And then you go to the next one. If you just take that on the chin and go, I was rubbish, hopefully I'm better next week, then you're going to continue this cycle of hopefully I'm good, hopefully I'm not, I played well, I played poorly, and there's no sort of process there in what you're doing. This is where training obviously comes into things. On top of that is having goals for yourself. If you're at the end of a month, if you go, well, I want to score 4 goals this month, and you've scored 1 after 3 weeks, maybe you ask yourself, well, how many chances am I actually getting? If you've only had 2 chances, you've scored 1 goal, then that's pretty decent. Okay, you're not on track to that goal, but you need to look at why. Is it your team's not creating a lot of chances? Maybe you've lost a few games and the team's not even in the game at all, so you can't really influence it. So looking at what is the process in place, and then that's when goal setting really comes into things. So I encourage you to watch this video. It's got a goal setting cheat sheet, just very simple. Set a goal for 12 weeks, break that into 3 smaller goals, and then break that into even smaller goals. So basically 12-week goal, month 1, month 2, month 3, and then week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 of month 1, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 of month 2, and then same month 3, and then you're always evaluating. That means you're always evaluating it, you're always readjusting, and you're always being clear on what you're trying to achieve, and are you moving towards that goal? And if you're not, you just recalibrate it and you work on it, and this is just part of self-development. You're going to fail sometimes, and that's absolutely fine. It's about setting realistic goals, knowing the process. If you are having a bad game, having a good support network, and that's when a high performance mindset comes into things. And I'll just go through this quickly again, you can watch this video on your own time, but again, I talk about having a purpose, having goals, and having an action plan, which the goal set will cover. And then looking at sort of having high agency. High agency as a person means you being in control of, you believing that you're in control of the outcomes in your life and making decisions on that. So, but that also comes down to your environment, the people you hang around with, your coaching team. Who is your coach? Are they positive? Are they giving you structures in place? Because that's their job. Their job is to make you better at football. The information you consume, are you listening to nonsense? Are you scrolling through social media, getting lots of different information, different advice? Are you listening to people who are giving you wrong information, or are you listening to good quality information and surrounding yourself, not just from a football perspective, but from a day-to-day? Are you on the news, getting bad news all the time? It's polluting your mind, you're in a negative mindset. How do you sleep? How do you train? Are you making time for yourself? And then making a choice based on, and I'm sorry going back to this, every choice you make is a vote for who you want to become. So if you want to become a better player, you need to ask yourself, is my decisions that I'm making right now, so this might be performance wise, if you're going into a game and you think I'm not playing well at the moment, my performance is not good, asking yourself, have I got routines in place? Am I doing the same routine? Is the variables the same? If one week I have a certain meal before a game, the next week it's completely different, maybe my sleep's different the night before. That's why routines are important on match day, because you can go, I got 8 hours sleep, had the same breakfast, had the same pre-match meal, warmed up the same way, and here's my performance. And then you can also start eliminating variables with regards to where you can be better. Okay, if you have different breakfasts or different pre-match meals and a different sleep, then it starts to change the variables too much and you don't know where you need to spend your energy. Then again, looking at your environment and the team around you, you need someone to keep you accountable, whether that's your coaches, whether it's hiring a coach, whether it's working with your teammates, just to keep you consistent, to keep you motivated, having your purpose, staying disciplined, getting competition amongst your teammates, managing your stress. Sometimes you can get so involved in your own process, you forget where you're at, and you can get so stressed and so wound up, it impacts your performance. And then knowing what the standards are, making sure that you're not going off track. It's very easy to get sidelined, especially in 2024 when there's social media, there's Google, and there's a million different things getting bombarded at us, when almost always, the simplest answer tends to be the right one. Alright, and it's very hard to see that simple answer if you're in your own head. So having teams or a person to bounce ideas off of and keep you right, set your goals for you. Now this isn't simple to do, it's not easy to do, but it is very simple. Again, there's no silver bullet, there's no fancy answer, there's no special recipe, there's no secret of elite performance. If you go and watch videos, I think Erling Haaland recently done one, you see he talks about performance, he really talks about sleep, turning up for training, biomechanics, getting to the gym regularly, eating well, like the simplest of things. There is no special foods he's eating, he's just doing the simple things all the time, not for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, for years. And that's what gets the results. And then really that's sort of the I would say encourage you to watch these 2 videos if you haven't already, to give you the gist of it. This is boring work, I'm not going to lie. Setting goals is boring, it's hard, it's very, very hard, because you have to be very specific, and then you have to have the discipline to stick to your goals, and then you have to look back at the performance each week and go, right, I didn't play too well today, but how's this fitting with my goals? What can I do to improve my goals? I'm on track. If I'm not, can I reach out to my coach and show my goals, and they can tell me if this is good or bad, etc. And you should do that for the physical side, the mental side, the technical side. It should all be covered in your game. Now, that's pretty much it. I went a wee bit over what I wanted to do, but that's absolutely fine. Hopefully this is valuable for you. I'm going to do another one over the next 7 to 10 days. Highly encourage you to give me questions. I'll answer as best I can. If you've got any preference of how the Q&A is delivered, I'll maybe do a live one. I just need to work out time zones for people, because I've got people from the UK, America, Australia, Dominican Republic, all over the place. So we need to make sure that if I'm going to do a live one, it makes sense time-wise, so there's actually going to be people on the call. And then maybe you can ask a question, I can respond to you, and you can give me an answer back, and then we can get more context for you. I'm going to put this in the chat. Please, if you haven't already, make sure you actually download the app on Skills. I know some of you haven't got the app. So if you go to the start here, you'll see I've got the links for the Android and iOS app. Just download the app, and it means you've got the school app on your phone. It means you can get notifications if anything comes through. You can also toggle the notifications. So if you get notifications of every comment, you can turn that off, but you can get notifications on maybe any announcements that I make, and you can choose what you get notifications. Now, hopefully that was all useful for you. I'll see you in a 7 to 10 days. I'll be in the community. Don't be scared to ask any questions. You can ask any questions in here. You can follow me on Instagram, that football fitness guy, and follow my YouTube, whatever you want. I'm only going to make content for YouTube based on questions that you're asking. I don't want to just put out random stuff there. I'm not a social media person, so I'm going to need guidance of the players. I want to give out you information that's going to help you. I'm a coach, so I want to coach you as best I possibly can. And that's pretty much it. Enjoy your day. Any more questions, put them in the community, and then we'll crack on from there.